Being a 10 hurts my career. Hello, my name is Catherine. Welcome back to my channel. The craziest thing that a female founder once told me is that it is best to strive to be a 7 in professional settings. And this is because if you are a 5, people will think that you are too uncute to talk to. And if you're a 10, they will assume that you're stupid. So I recently made another video about this and I used Madison Beer as an example because I think Madison Beer is really, really beautiful and she makes really good music, but people don't take her seriously. And I think it's because she is genuinely too beautiful. Women are jealous of her and men think she's stupid. Nevertheless, I tried to shake what my mama gave me and embrace the fact that I'm a 10 in professional settings. I think that this point about being a 7 is true, and I always tell myself that whenever I don't feel like dressing up for a professional event or whenever I need to wear my glasses and I just don't feel that cute, then I just tell myself, okay, it's okay because I need to be a 7 in professional environments. But for the most part, I actually think that it's important to just take advantage of any potential so-called disadvantages. And I think a lot of people assume that being a woman in professional environments is a disadvantage and they view themselves through kind of a victim mentality type of lens. And they think that people will never take them seriously and maybe they interpret certain actions as microaggressions, etc., etc. But I think that it's just important to never view yourself as a victim and to always lift yourself up and to just lean into anything that people might assume. So, for instance, a lot of people tell me that they think that my accent and my vocal fry, because I'm from LA, makes me seem stupid. I've been told that many times, and especially on my YouTube channel, people always comment about my vocal fry. But I personally think it's an advantage. And so sometimes I wouldn't say I lean into my accent, but I definitely don't try to hide it because I think that if people assume that I'm stupid, then that's on them. And, you know, they're just going to be surprised when they realize that I'm not. So today I wanted to go into a couple of tips that I have on how to glow up, be a 10, and lean into it. And these are things that I do personally to make being a woman an advantage rather than a disadvantage. And I think this is really because growing up, my mom told me every single day that she thought that I was really pretty. And so I grew up genuinely believing it. And I literally find it preposterous when people say anything otherwise. And it's just a hardcore belief that I have cemented in my mind that I'm really pretty. So it just goes to show the power of affirmations because my mom literally proved out the point to me that they do indeed work. Anywho, I think that this really all originated from my Model UN career. A fun fact, I got the most best delegate awards in my grade, which was literally one of my greatest accomplishments when I was in high school. I was so proud of it. And I remember I used to wear really, really formal dresses. I wouldn't wear any makeup. I wouldn't style my hair. I would just kind of show up in the most formal outfit ever. But then I had a partner for one of the partner debates where she would tell me that I need to lean into all of the features that I have. Like I'm 5'10", I'm really tall. I used to model in high school. So she was like, you should put on your beat that you do for modeling and wear cute outfits and bright colors so that you can stand out. And also, especially for something like Model UN where you don't actually need to be that professional and you can really lean into the whole femininity that you may have. She really encouraged me to do that, really put me on to embracing my feminine features in a professional environment in order to make it my advantage. I think overall being confident is what helps you be a 10 most of all. Like I really think that especially women can elevate themselves along that number scale of being a 10 by self-care, and that is internal and external. Like internally, if you take care of yourself and you channel your inner confidence, that is the best way to be a 10. But externally, you can also practice self-care. So now I'm going to go into about 10 tips that I have on how to make yourself a 10 so that being a 10 can be at your advantage and not at your disadvantage. And if you don't feel like doing the full looks maxing situation that I'm about to list, then you can have pride in being a 7 and having that be at your advantage too. So basically all of this is about having the mentality that the world works in your favor and you have lucky girl syndrome. So number 1, I wear a lot of jewelry in business environments, and not just like nice jewelry, but also statement pieces. Like even this necklace, I wanted to kind of spruce up the fact that I'm wearing this random BB Sport black shirt. So I have this little statement costume jewelry type of piece. And I think that jewelry in business environments helps you A, be feminine, but B, feel confident, because you kind of feel like a Christmas tree, like you feel all ornate and put together, and it's just really fun. Okay, I also have these 3 bracelets. One of them is from Majuri, and then these 2 are from Amazon. I have my Aura ring, and I think this is a good signal to tech bros, especially because I signal myself as a biohacker. Then I stack it with this other ring underneath to make it even more feminine. Another tip to be a 10 in the workplace is to always have your nails done. I have been getting my nails done once a month for about 3 years now, because my best friend told me that it always makes her feel more confident. And after I went through a breakup, I decided that I was going to commit to all of these improvements. I was going to start wearing daily jewelry and getting my nails done every month, because she told me that that's what helps her feel confident. And I realized that it genuinely helps me feel confident too. So I usually get a powder, because then no exposure to radiation, which gel does expose you to radiation. And also when you get the powder, like these are my natural nails and it's grown out, as you can see, but from afar, it still looks really good. So this is a good way to be a 10 in the workplace. Next, along the same line of jewelry, I recently got 3rd piercings on both sides, and I also have this up here. And I was kind of worried when I first got them that they wouldn't necessarily be deemed classy, but I figured with a 3rd piercing, I could just take it out if I do want to channel really classy vibes. And I actually think that when it's silver, they look really classy, because it looks like white gold almost. And actually this 3rd piercing is indeed white gold, but literally all of these are from Claire's. I got my 3rd piercing at Claire's recently, and I feel like it just, again, makes me feel like a Christmas tree, and I feel ornate. Okay, next, style your hair every single day before you go to sleep, and make sure to keep it clean. Make sure to stock up on dry shampoo and anti-frizz products, and also heat protectants so that you can protect your hair and keep it soft. I didn't start using conditioner until about 2 years ago, and it changed my life, because I realized that having soft hair helps me feel confident and be a 10. And I think that internal confidence is really one of the best things that you can do to be a 10, honestly, because I think any external self-care that you do can get you pretty far, but you will only ever be an 8 if you are the most beautiful person on the planet and you seem really insecure. So the true way to make it to the finish line and be a 10 is to really learn to love yourself. And I think that they're correlated. Like when I look good, I feel good. So external self-care helps my internal self-care. And I think that physical self-care can also get you to a certain point. But like I said, getting to the final point is really about the internal self-care. So if you want, you can watch my other videos on how to be confident, because I think that that is really important in addition to these other tips that I have. Next, depending on the city and demographic and industry that you are working in, you can lean into certain aesthetics, and that is also how to be a 10 in the workplace. So for me, I work in tech. A lot of people are based in SF. It's a big Silicon Valley type of vibe. And so I often lean into an ABG aesthetic, because I feel like a lot of SF culture is surrounding adoration of ABGs, which means Asian baby girls. And even on my YouTube channel, I get so many comments about OMG WMAF, which I didn't even know what that means, but apparently white male Asian female, they're referring to the fact that I'm half Asian. And I find it to be disconcerting. Like, why do we have to bring my race into a video about getting into Y Combinator? But it's fine. I mean, similarly to the theme of this whole video, I just lean into the things that my mama gave me, and that's one of them. And I take great pride in being half Asian. It's definitely low-key one of my personality traits. I'm half Chinese and half white, so I am indeed WMAF. Anywho, I usually do lean into the ABG aesthetic at times. I used to be blonde. It was not to satisfy others and to lean into being a 10, but I actually did want to be blonde. And it was a good thing for a little bit, but I prefer my natural hair color. I think in general, leaning into your natural aesthetics and just emphasizing your natural features is the best way to go. So for instance, if you're already blonde, if you just like get blonde highlights, I think that can look good. But if you're not already blonde and you're just fighting against like what your mama gave you, then I wouldn't do that. I mean, like, you should just love yourself for who you are and emphasize the features that you have. And so for me, like, now I just dye my roots because I get gray hair sometimes due to stress. Other than that, I really honestly prefer my natural hair, and now I just make sure to style it. And I usually do like just soft waves because my hair is naturally like slightly wavy-ish, but mostly straight. So straight or with a straightener and just like some anti-frizz stuff, or like S waves, like very light waves, I think is the way to go for me. I lean into the ABG aesthetic by sometimes wearing blue contacts, which I know contradicts my previous advice, but occasionally I do that. And I sometimes wear falsies, and I wear like hype jewelry like this, like kind of costumey-ish, that's silver. And yeah, I just kind of like emphasize that aesthetic. So for instance, for my Y Combinator demo day video, I really leaned into being an ABG, and it got me $5 million in venture capital investment. So thank you. And then next, this is more a personal note on kind of the vibe that you can emanate. At almost every networking event I've ever been to, there's an encounter that happens where I don't necessarily remember the other person, but they remember me. And I think that this happens especially at Y Combinator events. Y Combinator is a startup accelerator, but I think it's because I'm one of the few women, and a lot of the men are kind of the same breed of man. So it's a little bit harder for me to remember every single one of them that I meet. And I'm usually really good with remembering people. And I always remember other women. So that's why I know it's not me. Maybe it is me. Yeah, there's usually like a guy that like indicates that he recognizes me, and I don't know where we met before, but I think that it's because A, I'm one of the few women in tech circles, so I usually stand out in that way, and the reverse isn't necessarily true. But B, I think people usually remember me because I'm a big sharer. I mean, as you can see on this YouTube channel, I share everything, and I'm generally an oversharer, and I feel very comfortable sharing my life with people. I'm an open book, and I think this is because I just really value sincerity. Insincerity is one of my biggest pet peeves. And so I try to reflect that by being extremely sincere with others. And a lot of my friends that tend to be kind of anxious, I think usually feel calm around me, as they've told me, because I'm such a direct person. And so I think A, that helps anxious people feel calm. B, when I share personal information with people, it makes them want to share personal information back because it makes it feel like a safe space. And then they feel really comfortable around me. So I feel like a lot of people do generally remember me because they remember the conversations that we have and the depth that we were able to go very quickly because I'm such an oversharer. And I try to be lighthearted, and I always try to emanate confidence. I fake it until I make it, and I think confidence attracts others. So I think that for that reason, I tend to be remembered. So I think that that's also something that you can do to be a 10, especially in the workplace, but also in social settings and just settings in general. Okay, lastly, I would not be afraid to lean into an Elle Woods type of aesthetic. Like, she did things to stand out. She sprayed perfume on business documents that she handed people, and she made everything pink. And I honestly did the same thing when I was in Y Combinator, and I pitched to over 1,000 investors on demo day, and then I secured a $5 million venture capital investment. I made our slide pink. I used a fun font. I put a really cute mascot on it that had a little lamb because I thought lambs were so cute and they kind of represented nativity and innocence. And we were a company that channeled babies. And then I also included a photo of a bunch of babies. We hired these baby models to do this whole photo shoot with our product, and I included that on the slide. And every other slide was like Times New Roman in white font, presenting B2B SaaS products, no photos of customers. There wasn't anything that would spark joy. And I feel like if you're going to be in a professional workplace, you may as well make yourself into a 10 by standing out and doing things that others might find silly. But if it sparks joy for you, it'll probably spark joy for them, and they're just probably going to get a little giggle out of it. And that's how you can be remembered. So this is really how you succeed in the workplace, but of course, by working hard as well. Obviously, I think being really smart and working really hard gets you really, really far. So overall, the theme and lesson here is that you can work really, really hard and be really, really smart, and it can get you really, really far. But I think that you can get away with more when you make yourself stand out and you don't fall into a victim mentality, and you instead embrace the disadvantages, or so-called disadvantages, at hand. Like, people could say that it's a disadvantage that I'm a woman of color, I was a solo founder, I don't know how to code, so I'm non-technical. And I think in the startup world, I just leaned into all of those things, and I did kind of try to teach myself how to code in order to compensate for that, but it was because I wanted to and not because someone told me that I needed to. And I lean into my more feminine features, I emphasize them, I'm not afraid to get all glammed up. You know, baddies can do it too. So that is 10 ways to be a 10 in the workplace. Take advantage of what your mama gave you and why being a 10 could hurt your career, but it doesn't have to. Okay, thanks for watching.